Hello, artists and art enthusiasts. Oh, wait, before you all come at me with the pitchforks and the clubs, I am sorry, okay? Last year, I said I was going to do another video. Speaking of last year, Happy New Year, everyone, and happy holidays for those who are still in the holiday mood. I hope that the holidays went well for everyone, and for those who are back to work already, congratulations on being back to work, I guess. And I hope this year treats us all well. So, again, sorry for not uploading another video in a while. The thing is, the last two videos I did were teaching videos, and I realized that I'm not really going to be the best teacher, especially since I still had a lot to learn, and even some things that I didn't know that I needed to learn, which is probably a bad idea if you're planning to teach people stuff. So after I realized that, I decided to take some time to just generally improve, because I don't think I had ever taken time to deliberately improve my drawing skills. So I did that last year, and I'm here now to tell you about what I learned and what I would do differently if I could, and just little tidbits of advice, nothing too serious or anything like that. And I think I'm going to be doing more videos like this where I just mention stuff, not really like teach. So before we get into that, talking about this video, the time lapse in the back, it's actually for a challenge that me and my friend did last year. The prompt, because it was from a prompt, it was flowers in a strange place, and though the flowers were something I added at the end of the time lapse, it's actually something that I planned from the start. At this point, you might have recognized the character I'm drawing if you watch One Piece, and it's this character called Enel. He's basically this character that can use lightning and stuff at will. I really did enjoy drawing this piece because, well, first of all, I didn't do line art. I'm getting off track here. Though he's not one of my favorite characters, I quite enjoyed doing this piece, and I hope you enjoy the time lapse of the video in the back. Without further ado, let's get into the subject of this video, the nitty-gritty and stuff. So at the start of last year, I had recently discovered digital art, and I was super excited to, try my hands at it and come up with something, because I had loads of ideas. But, well, at that point, I didn't have a lot of ideas. I had ideas, and I've always wanted to work with color, because most of my background is traditional art, and I thought the peak the ultimate Chad form of drawing that you can get was hyper realistic art. But when I attempted it a while ago, I was like, I didn't really hate it, but it's not something I saw myself doing repeatedly and constantly, and I still wanted to find a way to add color to my drawings, because I wasn't really good. I've never really worked with colored pencils or colored media. I mostly do pencil drawings. So I was really excited about digital art because it gave me an opportunity to add color to my drawings, And so after a few drawings that I did, I realized that I still have a lot to learn if I'm going to be able to implement the stuff I want, because the type of ideas I had, I wasn't sure I had the skill to bring those ideas to life really well with the skills I had. So I decided that I was going to take a break from drawing and do some practice, which is the first thing that I'm going to say. Number one takeaway: don't say because you want to practice you're gonna stop drawing what you want. Keep drawing what you want. Do not, put practice over, drawing it. Practice is part of the journey, but if you make, it's good to enjoy the journey, but we're in this to make art, we're not in this to practice forever. So all I'm saying is just try to incorporate the practice into maybe your art routine, whether it's daily, weekly, or whatever. Don't just abandon your normal drawing and feel like you can't draw anything until you're perfectly good at everything. That was one of the first mistakes that I made. So the first thing that I started trying to tackle was anatomy, because I do a lot of character illustrations. It's what I first started with. It's what I love. I love drawing people. So I wanted to get better at that, especially in terms of anatomy. So I got this book, Figure It Out: Human Proportions by Christopher Hart, and I started using it to study human proportions. And I started with the head, which is not a bad idea, but I think it was just me staying in my comfort zone, which is the second tip I have for y'all. Don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone and do stuff that you've never done before. Sure, if you're scared, you can, maybe try it on a smaller scale. Like if you want to try dynamic lighting, you can try it with a smaller subject, not whatever final piece you had in mind, so that you can experiment and get the feel of it. But don't stay in your comfort zone, especially if you want to get out of it. If you want to do other things that are outside of it and you want to practice, then you should practice things that are generally outside of your comfort zone. So as I was saying, I was practicing anatomy with that book by Christopher Hart, and after a while it wasn't going so well, because I feel like I wasn't really, after I finished the head section and I moved on to the body section, it was a lot of information for me. And while I was following the book, I followed everything to a T. First off, I wanted to do more of anime style illustration, and that book gave more of a Western comic book style, which there's nothing wrong with. I mean, anything can be used as a good base if you know how to expand and modify the proportions to what you want. But the thing is, I didn't know how to do that, and also because each of the parts was sort of glossed over, but it was just a general proportion guide, and I didn't really know how to do a deep dive in practice for each of those parts, which is at this time where a general resource came into play. It's this course by Aalma Luar, the 7 months improvement challenge, and I would say it's one of the things that I am most happy in terms of drawing to have found last year. It's basically a detailed breakdown of what you need to study. The main thing there, 50% or more of the stuff in there, is anatomy. But there's also different stuff such as lighting, drawing environments. It's a really, really great practice guide, and I totally 100% recommend it for beginners. If you're like me and you didn't know where to start from, and you just needed more specific practice exercises to get you to where you want it to be, I would recommend that resource. And something that also I learned from doing it is that, and that I learned to apply to other stuff, is that whatever you're practicing, this is number 3, that you should try as much as possible to practice one concept at a time. Like, don't go all into color and lighting and values and everything at the same time, especially if like you don't know a lot on the subject. Try to take each of those things one at a time so that your brain can easily assimilate the knowledge and stuff. So how that applies to anatomy is that instead of studying the body as a whole, you break down each of the parts and study them individually. A video that touches more on this properly is this video by Ori Days. I'll put the link in the description, as well as the resource I mentioned before, the book by Christopher Hart and the other resource by Aalma Luar. So I basically used those resources, and though in the 7-month challenge I am nowhere near the end, I found fulfillment in knowing that I reached the practice goals like within shorter amounts of time, and also knowing that I'm learning information and having it on hand to review and see the progress I've made. And yeah, I really enjoy it because it's a really good systematic breakdown of all the things that you need to study, and from there you can just do your own studies. So next I will talk about composition. Composition is something that I actually didn't really know about properly until last year. Like, I knew of it from my high school art classes where they would mention composition as the arrangement of objects, but I thought it was only used in stuff like still life drawing. I didn't know you could use composition to plan out the layout and structure of your drawings in order to make them more visually appealing. So that's something that I learned. And though composition is it might seem like a really small concept, but it's very important, and I feel like it's something that can greatly influence your work. A video I recommend that really helped me understand it, and it's not going to do any magic, but like it has a lot of key points that are very important and worth noting, and you can focus on each of those key points later for more detailed study. So the video is by Fudo. I will put the link in the description, and it basically talks about the ways you can use composition to enhance your work and make it look better. And I phrase it like that because composition is a tool that you use to make your work into what you want it to be. It's not something that you just have and then you place an artwork on top of it. You already have the thing that you want to make in mind, and then you choose a composition, or you use composition and arrange the objects in the scene the way you want it, or just like more visually appealing to the way they originally were. And next is color and lighting. And although I feel like I am way better in color than I was last year, I feel like in terms of lighting I'm still sort of really green on that area. But I know this book is like 100,000 times over referenced, is the book Color and Lighting. It's really good resource. It talks about the different types of lighting sources, lighting types, and how objects behave in those different lighting scenarios. And though there are other resources that you can use, I feel like that's one of the most comprehensive. But the most important thing in using any of these resources is to practice on your own, because no matter how many YouTube videos you watch or how many books you read, if you don't implement the knowledge that you have learned or assimilated, then it's just gonna sit in your head, and that's not really what you want. So I guess that's point number 4. Implement what you learn. Still talking about color, how to use color in ways that doesn't look weird. Of course, there are the usual color schemes like the triadic, complementary, monochrome, and such and such. I would recommend, it's not like a must. I mean, you could just do them for fun, like practice doing different color scheme types and so on. But you could also there's this video by Angry Miko that really explains how to use color in ways that will make your art, will improve your art. And though he's a painter who, I don't know if he uses blend modes a lot, but like he uses them less and uses stuff like line art less, but you can still apply the principle of controlling the color and the hue and saturation and the lightness of color in order to like provoke focal points, which is why I say composition is like super important. It's like in that Puss in Boots movie where the egg is like, I was always there. That's composition. It's like sort of hidden everywhere, no matter how much you try to run away from it, including the focal points in color theory. So basically you just use different properties of the color to make focal points that your viewer can focus on or guide the eye of the viewer. So everything works hand in hand with composition. And this is where that other thing that I said comes into play, like so that you don't have a brain overload. Try as much as possible to like take each of these things one by one. And yeah, that's it for color and lighting. Another person that I recommend who does great videos that you can watch on color and lighting is the Color and Lighting Mentor. Like, it's literally in his name. I've learned a lot from watching his videos, and I'll put his link in the description. And now for the more moral lessons that I learned, or not really, but like not really concepts. Trying to paint like your favorite mentor is good, but if you don't fully enjoy it, don't force yourself. Because I really do like anime art, but I feel like I'm not really fully cut out for line art, because although a lot of the pieces that I did last year had line art, I realized that I enjoyed the process of the sketch more and the feel of the sketch as well, like just the freedom and how much more gestural it looks using your sketches. So this year I decided I'm going to try, like, not that I will totally cut out line art from my dictionary, but I will try more to experiment with not doing line art and see how it goes. Like, as you can see in the picture that I'm doing, I didn't use line art, I just used the sketch I had from the beginning. So there's that. Try to experiment with different things that you like, and if you don't like it, then just try something else. It's fine. In those beginning stages it might feel frustrating. I can especially understand that, because I can tell you that none of the paintings that I did last year, I didn't use the same method for any two of them. So half the time I was implementing a new method, which means sometimes the paintings took longer because I'm like, oh, what do I do now? And though having a workflow is good, you also have to experiment to determine the workflow that you like. So that's another point, experiment. And yeah, that's basically it. The rest of the lessons I apparently touched up on earlier in the video. Other things I did last year, I want to mention I started a sketchbook as well. Apart from a sketchbook for practice, I started a sketchbook where I do like just random doodles, anything from random doodles to like dedicated pieces, whatever I'm in the mood for. And that's the thing, like, I feel like you shouldn't be pressured with your sketchbook to make it all perfect and frilly and stuff. Like, whatever it looks like, it's totally fine. It's fine if you feel like doing perfect page spreads one day, and it's fine if the next day you just want to do doodles all over the page. It's totally okay, and you don't have to post every page of your sketchbook as well if you're not comfortable with it, because there's a lot of pressure for sketchbooks to be perfect for posting, and it's okay, you know. You don't have to do that. That's what I'm saying. The sketchbook is supposed to be like your personal little book of you, like what you want to express. It's not necessarily for other people, is what I'm saying. Like you can do it dedicated with pieces that you want to post, but you don't have to, is all I'm saying. And don't be afraid to like experiment with different media, I guess, because a while ago, for the longest time I wanted to, like I said, work with color, but I was super scared of using colored pencils. That's why I decided I was only going to do it digitally. But last year I decided to try with colored pencils because I realized that I was scared of doing it before, because I was like, oh, what if I mess up the paper? But I realized that it's okay to make mistakes, and that's something that traditional art really does teach you. That it teaches you patience and to stick with the work even if, you know, it's not looking super great. Like, there can always be a turnaround, and even if there isn't, like, it's still something that came from your hand. So, you know, it's also helps with making me more grateful for each of my pieces. The last thing I would like to mention is like being more confident. No matter the type of art you do, whether it's traditional, digital, or some sort of fusion medium, like whatever you're doing, just be confident in yourself. Even if you feel like stuff isn't going well, you can get to that point you've set for yourself, and also try to enjoy the journey to get there. I'm gonna wrap up here. I hope you have enjoyed my little rant, and I hope that it has helped you with something. I hope. And I will try to, I don't know the type of content. I don't think I'll really have a specific type of content that I'll be posting. I'll mostly do time lapses of pieces, probably talk about my thought process in doing each of them, and just, you know, random stuff, some traditionally, because woohoo, we're in that club now. And yeah, that's it for all the stuff I wanted to say. Again, I hope you have a wonderful new year. I hope it treats you well, you and yours, and I hope you have enjoyed this video. Enjoy the rest of the time lapse.